roided Kulusevski or a champagne Dwight McNeil. Just how good is Cole Palmer?
Silva, deflection, Cole Palmer with another chance. Brilliant finish.
Where Palmer is ahead of slower wingers like McNeil and Kulusevski, there's a genuine goal threat. When he drifts into half spaces or he cuts in, he isn't just doing it for show, but to unleash his cannon of left foot. His striking technique is sublime, quality finesse shot, which seems to be able to locate the far right truncheon at will. And we've also seen these quality valve shots from distance, especially during his academy days. Unlike Phil Foden, Palmer seems to have a more natural understanding of the pause needed before striking the ball, but due to his need of backlift, his finishing inside the box isn't as effective. He takes too long to take a shot. Hence his eye for the spectacular seems to supersede his ability to put easy chances in the back of the net, which Foden does have. Separately, there's not a great degree of evidence supporting his weak foot, but the way he cuts back in, it would be useful if he can develop a high quality weak foot.
Wood getting ready to come on. Palmer.
In terms of his dribbling, Palmer is not going to be an electrifying speed merchant dribbler. He's not an out-and-out pacey, tricky winger like a Coleman or a Dembele, or to some extent a Madueke, whose entire games seem to be modelled around running with the ball time and time again at high pace and demolishing fullbacks through pure 1v1 ability throughout the entire game. He lacks the sprint endurance and the athleticism to pull off that volume of high-intensity carries. However, Kulusevski also lacks that elite athleticism, and yet he also has a large volume of carries, possesses a killer shift and a change in direction, and he's got that tall, lanky, gliding style with that left foot, very similar to Palmer. Palmer's progressive run stats are pretty good, so he can clearly penetrate space. I'd say Palmer's burst of speed actually looks superior to Kulusevski, and that means he can even be used down the line, down that left flank, and still be effective, whereas Kulusevski wouldn't function as well on that left wing. When Palmer fakes a shot, it looks very deceptive. He puts his entire body into it, and he sends defenders into a different dimension, and his ability to use the ball to protect the ball for one so young is also very good. In terms of range of skills, the Cruyff turn in particular seems a standout feature of his dribbling game. I'd say his step overs and stuff like that, they're average, they're okay, but that ability to cut in, body feints, that's what makes him stand apart.
Akanji, Manchester.
Palmer looks to create often. He's a risk taker on the ball, and he's not someone who's going to avoid stamping his authority on a game. However, this hasn't led to a high amount of assists generated. And the issue is that he's got vision, he's got ideas, but his execution leaves a bit to be desired. Now, he is young, and you could put that down to inexperience and an area of his game that just needs fine-tuning, but his weight of pass is frustrating, and it might explain why City were willing to offload him, as they probably felt that they don't have the time on their hands to give him the game time to perfect it, and perhaps Pep long-term took a view on his football IQ. Now, there's some who claim that Cole's best long-term position is a mezzala or an advanced 8. For that to be true, he really needs to up his game in terms of the decision-making and the execution. Is it beyond him? No. But it will require patience and dedication on his part.
Galbraith is there with him, but Palmer made that look easy, and that as well, and it's Tito.
It's not as if Fofana was under pressure, Connor. That's the annoying part for Frank Lampard. You know, he had space.
Palmer is a very natural link-up player, and you could even imagine him when he's fully matured in a second striker type of role. Very good at knowing where his teammates are before he's even received the ball, great scanning ability, he's got an excellent first touch, and it almost feels futile trying to rush him and put pressure on him, because there's so many ways he can resist that pressure. Either he uses his body to create a barrier to protect the ball, which buys him key seconds to then secure the pass, or he can first time lay it off and then move off the ball, or even two-touch with the ball, juggling it in aerial situations and find a way out of that situation by locating a pass. Reminds me a bit of Paqueta in that sense, where he can buy himself that time. I'd classify Palmer as a playmaking wide man who likes to come in and help the midfield control the game, and he adds a bit of extra dash of pauser to the possession, and he's always looking for openings and ways to progress the possession.
Palmer, good feet, lovely ball, and there's...
In terms of Palmer's crossing, well, from the left it looks very special. We likened him to McNeil, but honestly he could perhaps be even better in the long term. The whip the bend he gets from these left-sided crosses, it's very good and a forward's dream. He's got an innate feel for what is the corridor of uncertainty, and regardless of whether he's close to the byline or from deep, seems to be able to find the right delivery and apply the right trajectory and venom. He's got an ability to lift the ball up in very tight areas close to goal, which makes far post goals a high possibility. From the right, he's got the ability to drive balls through with his weaker foot when he does a little shift and goes down the line. But I'd say overall his crossing from this side isn't as mouth-watering as it is down the left. Palmer is someone who's proactive, so it lends itself to always wanting to progress the game, and that's why he hits more long passes compared to the other names on the list. However, his accuracy rate is hit and miss. His technique for switching the ball seems inconsistent. I don't like his biomechanics when he's looking to strike through the ball. It looks awkward. It's almost as if his legs feel too long to switch the ball. The best long passes almost stab through the ball with an element of wedge, like a golf shot under the ball, and that's what gives that laser-like straight flight to the ball. Imagine Scholes or Jabi Alonso. Palmer looks very leggy when he's trying to hit these, and sometimes it comes off and it looks spectacular. But generally, it looks most of the time that he's making it hard for his teammates to get onto the ball. Now, in contrast, when he's hitting long passes to open up the game in a vertical manner, i.e. finding the overlap on his own flank or a runner through the middle, his pass technique looks much more secure because he's using more of a curled instep, which is a technique he's got better mastery of. Now, Palmer did just score a header against Sevilla in the Super Cup, but statistically he's someone who's historically struggled with aerial duels. At times, not wanting to jump or put himself properly into a duel, he's been pretty easy to beat. Now, there's been signs that this is improving in general play, so I can't foresee his stats being this awful in a few years. But for sure, it's definitely an area of his game which needs to be identified as a weakness. For now, it needs massive tweaking, and it's something he needs to improve for it not to be a liability in his long-term career, especially if he makes that move to, say, a second striker type of role.
Forward by Cancelo, on by Palmer.
It's hard to imagine a City graduate struggling defensively, and there isn't a lack of IQ here which prevents Palmer from being overly effective, but the lack of sprint endurance. He's not someone who can run at full pelt all game and make those wasted, exerted efforts like a Jamie Vardy who could hound defenders all day long. 1v1, he can be half-hearted and be easily got past, although in some instances there is a willingness to throw in a slide tackle, and anything within his close vicinity, he tends to intercept well, so a mixed bag. Overall, I'd say not an elite defensive force for a forward, but probably enough here to convert him into being a functional defensive member of the forward line. Tactically, Palmer has been exposed to a variety of positions, including right wing, his most utilised position, cam, left wing, and even centre forward for the academy. Where do I think he'd be used best? I think it's too early in his career to pigeonhole him, but if I was to say where he could maximise his potential, it'd be as an advanced A either down the right, where he can be a goal threat, or down the left, where he can be a creative threat. His lack of pace would be less of an issue in these inside positions. My preference is the left-sided role, as I think his crosses are a standout feature of his game, and most left wingers are right-footed, they're going to cut in, and then therefore he can provide an overlap and offer his team a new tactical dimension. Most likely at the moment he'll have to compete for a spot on both flanks. If he does play on the flanks, in my opinion, it needs to be a 4-2-3-1, because I don't see him as a wing forward type of winger. I think he's the type who's going to thrive with a number 9 he can service, and in a 4-2-3-1 he can operate deeper, he can focus on getting balls in, and pick and choose when to cut in, and there won't be too much pressure on him for goals and assists, because the number 10 will carry that burden, and the number 9 will carry the burden for goals. If Nkunku comes back from injury, and he plays false 9, I don't think Palmer is the most compatible for making those runs in behind, unless Mudryk starts firing on all cylinders, in which case you have a similar dynamic to Son Heung-min, Kane and Kulusevski, which would be a pretty strong template. But it does have certain limitations due to Kulu's lack of output. He doesn't really match the likes of Salah coming inside, and in my opinion the best front threes, which include a false 9, have wing forwards who are incredibly dangerous and a regular, reliable goal threat. In conclusion, Technically and IQ-wise, it seems likely that Palmer would be able to handle the demands of European football, especially through the group stages. His biggest issue is, like Foden, there doesn't seem to be a position tailor-made for him just to grab and call his own. It seems like the right wing is the most likely, but long term it feels like his potential there could be limited. And with the likes of Bellingham possibly blocking any paths to playing centrally for England, it seems like despite Palmer's undoubted talent, he's going to have to overcome a lot of obstacles to reach his potential. If he does, he's probably going to end up world class and be the second coming of Chris Waddle. It's certainly not beyond him. Anyway guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, share and subscribe, and see you guys again next time. Bye.
Spare for Guardiola, joy for Mourinho.